As many of you know, I bought an iPhone 14 Pro 6 months ago from the Amazon Renewed store. And interestingly enough, I've been seeing a lot of videos popping up on my YouTube homepage where creators talk about how this phone is still great even 3 years after its release and how it still holds up in 2025. And so I thought to myself, it's been a long time since I've uploaded a video into YouTube. Why not make it a 6-month update about this iPhone 14 Pro since we're 2 or 3 months away from the iPhone 17's release. So first and foremost, let's address some of the questions you might have about buying a phone, any phone, from the Amazon Renewed store. As you know, if you watched my previous video, I bought this phone in premium condition. It came with 100% battery life, no visible scratches on the screen, and a scratch here and there that you wouldn't be able to notice if you're not walking around with a magnifying glass. So Amazon's Renewed store policy says that if you purchase a phone in premium condition, you're gonna get it with no scratches on the screen, not visible scratches on the body from 12 inches away, and the battery life is going to be 90% or above. Now, I'm glad to inform you that 6 months after I purchased this phone, it's still at 100% battery life. In terms of performance, it's still holding up well, just like the first day I turned it on. And in terms of scratches and stuff like that on the screen, it has no scratches at all. But I noticed a couple of stains that I'll make sure to showcase in here within the screen that wouldn't go away no matter how much I clean it. They just come back overnight. So having addressed any possible question that you might have about the Amazon Renewed store, let's jump right into the matter of why this phone is so appealing in 2025. Needless to say, I'm more than satisfied with the purchase of this phone. The phone performs as well as any phone that was released in 2025 so far. Now, in terms of the camera, which is something that is pretty important to me, the quality is just great. I mean, I currently use the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 as my main camera. I'm gonna leave on the screen footage from the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 and the iPhone 14 Pro. And let me know in the comments if you notice any difference. Because to me, in terms of quality, they both look pretty similar, and that doesn't mean that one is bad and the other is good. It just means that they're both so good that I feel that I can confidently pull out the phone and record at any time I need to if the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 is not around. Now, something that was pretty appealing to me, of course, is the price. This thing in 2025 is not overpriced at all. I mean, you can get 128 gigabytes of storage within the Amazon Renewed store in premium condition for $569. Now, something super important is that Apple said that they're going to support this phone up until 2029. That basically means that you're going to be getting software updates and security updates until then, which basically means you future-proof yourself buying an iPhone 14 Pro, which I think is pretty important. And last but not least, the phone aesthetically looks just like any other phone in the current lineup, aside from a couple of buttons that honestly no one asked for, which leads me to the next topic. What are the differences between this phone and the current lineup? In terms of aesthetics, not much. The only difference is that newer iPhones have a couple of buttons that honestly no one asked for. Most of us are going to take the action button and are gonna leave it just as it is for the silent mode. And the other button that they included within the new models for the camera, I've seen a lot of videos of people saying that if they were able to, they would disable it. And if you think about it, that button is not necessary at all.
To me, it's alright.
And then if you turn it this way, like now it's even more awkward.
Like you can't really do it with one hand, it feels. Yeah. Personally, I wouldn't use it. Nah, I wouldn't use it.
Another difference is that this phone doesn't support Apple Intelligence, but if I'm being honest with you, I currently have an iPad M2 which does support Apple Intelligence, and to tell you the truth, I can count on one hand how many times I've used an Apple Intelligence feature. So if you're anything like me, you're not gonna be sad. To be honest, Apple Intelligence feels like a scam at this point. Now, another difference is that Apple claims bezels are thinner within the newer phones. But if you're honest to yourself, if you're not walking around with a magnifying glass, you're not gonna notice that difference. And it includes the dynamic island, which basically makes it look like any other iPhone from the current lineup. To me, that doesn't make that big of a difference for me to upgrade or go for a newer model, especially if you take into consideration that camera specs and camera quality is barely noticeable, the difference you get from newer models. So if you weight those two differences, I don't think that's enough for you to purchase a new model over an iPhone 14 Pro. But that's just my opinion. And lastly, of course, we all know that with every year, Apple includes a new chipset within their new models. But if you take into consideration that the average Joe is just jumping around apps like Spotify to iMessage back and forth, or between social media apps like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and stuff like that, you're not going to notice the microseconds, and you don't need them. Trust me on that one. If you think you're gonna notice that, well, I don't know if there is much I can do for you to change your mind to buy this phone instead of any new model. In conclusion, the iPhone 14 Pro is still a valid option if you're considering buying a new phone or upgrading for previous models in 2025. If you come from a phone like the iPhone 11 or 10 or before, I highly suggest that you take into consideration this phone instead of the newer models. As I said, you will basically get the same features and the same performance for less money. But as we all know, Apple is pretty good at this thing that people call FOMO, which is basically fear of missing out. They make you feel that you're going to miss on something that they released within that newer model, which in full honesty, you're not gonna miss on anything that you would use on a daily basis. If you think about it, we have gotten to a point where phones that were released 5 years ago would still hold up pretty goddamn well. If you treat them carefully, I can tell you they all come with amazing performance, 4K cameras, good CPUs and memory, and can basically deal with any task that you throw at them. So iPhone 14 Pro, great option in 2025. I highly suggest that you get one of these instead of newer models, but I will be more than happy to read your opinions down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time I hit record.